Surprise, surprise, here we are. I have never been so happy to have my own desk, to have my own studio. Mwah, mwah, as we look on this day at the darlings of corporate news just getting dismantled and destroyed. Maybe I'm overstating it, but my word, we come to you now. So yes, you know Sam Roberts Now. We go on every Friday here on the Notsam YouTube channel, but we can't wait till Friday all the time. Some days the world of corporate news completely changes right in front of our faces, and I thought, hey, let's try to figure this all out together, right? Because I'm driving home today. It's like 11:30 in the morning. I get home around noon, and I see on my Twitter that Tucker Carlson and Fox News have parted ways. Now we're going to look at all the vocabulary that's been used, because that's really all that we can go on right now. There's very little concrete information, a lot of leads, but very little truly concrete information. But it said Tucker Carlson and Fox News had parted ways. Now this is a shock, as Tucker Carlson, ratings-wise, popularity, the number one person in cable news. There's, I think, a lot of people that just watch Fox News because Tucker Carlson is there. People love this guy. People hate this guy. But this is how Tucker does what he does. This is how he makes his living, right? So this word comes down out of nowhere, and people start doing their research, doing their homework, trying to figure out, like, did Tucker quit? Did he leave Fox News? They go back, they start reading. Fox said, we've parted ways, and Tucker's last show was Tucker's last show. The last time Tucker's doing a show on Fox News was already last Friday, so you've seen it. Starting tonight, there's going to be rotating fill-in hosts in that Tucker Carlson time slot, which 2 weeks from now, fine. The first night, the second night, any night that first week, terrible position for anybody to be in, to have to fill those shoes, especially with his fan base who'd love to see him. So people start going back to the show on Friday to see if there was any sort of mention of it. And no, there was nothing terribly suspicious. It seemed like a run-of-the-mill Tucker show. He ended the show by saying, we'll see you on Monday, and then boom, gone. Now, there are a lot of people that are thinking that this has to do with the Dominion lawsuit. You know, Fox News getting sued by Dominion. They settled out of court for just a hair under $800 million and started cleaning house after it. Tucker, as of now, has not been directly implicated. His employment has not been directly implicated in the Dominion stuff. But when you're talking about the conversation of the election and voting, Tucker was undeniably leading the charge on Fox News as far as that conversation went. So look, did he get let go because they couldn't predict what he was going to do next? Did he get let go because he wouldn't play ball? Was there a conversation going like, hey, we got to trust what you're going to be able to say on the air. You got to get it approved before you go on the air. And Tucker said, I'm not doing that. Maybe. My feeling is that Tucker had to know this was at least in the ether. I personally don't believe that Tucker was completely blindsided by this, because you don't just go from I'm the number one guy in cable news to what? I'm fired. Are you kidding me? Especially because Tucker also knows that he's got a lot of options outside of cable news. I think, do I have it up here? I saw it. Yeah, I'm watching The View, right? Well, I wasn't watching The View, but I saw this clip. And
Fox News Media and Tucker
this is how
have agreed to
the ladies covered it this morning. You know, first of all, it's very rude to cheer for a person's firing, whether you like the guy or not. I'm not like a one way or the I don't care. But to applaud that somebody has lost their job We're going to go to the next bird. Don Lemon also doesn't have a job. To applaud that either Don Lemon or Tucker Carlson don't have a job, we're all trying to feed our families.
Wave.
Okay. So this is a little like, and this is kind of why people say what they say about sort of legacy media as it's known. This is ridiculous. You don't think that after getting fired from Fox News or leaving Fox News or however the story will eventually be spun, Tucker is going to be able to go on to something bigger? Like, Tucker is not Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly got thrown off of Fox News, number one, when full infrastructures for creating a real profitable ecosystem with a giant audience independently, that hadn't really been fully built out when Bill O'Reilly got thrown off of Fox. And he wasn't a young guy. He's an old man. He doesn't understand the technology. He's been going from TV station to TV station all his life. Tucker is a different story entirely. I think Tucker is well aware of what the potential is out there. He's probably looking at Crowder turning down $50 million so he can go do a show at Rumble. So you can only imagine what Rumble was offering him, and realizing that people are throwing around millions of dollars out here for right-wing people to talk about right-wing things. And Tucker's like, well, I could just do that, and I won't have to worry about Rupert Murdoch getting mad at me. Or he's got however many million people watching him every night. He's a populist guy. This guy, you know, he could run for office. You know that we're not out of the realm of that possibly happening, right? You understand the world that we live in. I mean, this is the guy, this is Tucker, who so sources say it was a firing, right? An article came out, and it's all sources, but sources say that it was indeed a firing. But I feel like there's a big difference between the Don Lemon firing and the Tucker Carlson firing. And I feel like Don Lemon was not ready for it. I feel like Tucker Carlson might have known it was coming and might have been pushing to get there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Rumble's trying to get some of that money back from Crowder so they could pay Tucker, because it's going to be tough to afford both guys with that. But I don't know. Maybe Rumble's got the money. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. This face, talking about M&Ms, was the face of the network. And now they're just going to, I don't know, restructure it, I guess. But this is what we're not going to get on cable news anymore.
M&Ms were pushing intolerance, but they've been changed. You're seeing the changes right now on your screen. The green M&M, you will notice, is no longer wearing sexy boots. Now she's wearing sensible sneakers. Why?
See, you always hear that Tucker Carlson got turned on by M&Ms, but you don't always hear the clips, right? I feel like Tucker Carlson thinks candy is sexy, is something that's in the zeitgeist, but not, I don't know that I've actually ever sat there and watched him say it, right? When I see what he's saying, right? When I look at it, I guess if I said, think in your head of a sexy boot, it would probably look like this boot. But when the boot is on a M&M, a cartoon M&M, I no longer associate it with sexy boot. I go, I don't know, it's an M&M in a lady's boot, I guess. I don't know what I'm looking at here. And Tucker goes, no. It's an M&M looking damn fine. It's an M&M looking sexy.
The change? Well, according to M&M's, quote, we all win when we see more women in leading roles.
Right.
Because leading women do not wear sexy boots. Leading women wear frumpy shoes. The frumpier, the better.
He doesn't like that the new M&Ms were wearing frumpy shoes.
That's the rule. The other big change is that the brown M&M has, quote, transitioned from high stilettos to lower block heels. Also less sexy. That's progress.
By the way, it doesn't say less sexy. The quote from Mars is transitioned from high stilettos to lower block heels. So this is, I mean, you know, Tucker at one point was like, man, I love M&Ms. They are so sexy. And then he watches the commercials, and he's like, well, how do you expect me to buy these candies? They're not nearly as sexy anymore.
Progress. M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous. Until the moment you wouldn't want to have a drink.
Androgynous means like not like without, discernible genitals, I think. Like androgynous is sort of neither male nor female, sometimes something in between, sometimes just, or just nothing. I guess, I understood that female traits were being added and male traits, like the yellow M&M sounded like John Goodman. I guess I associated him as the more male of the M&M, but I never considered that the M&Ms had human genitals. I didn't think that way, but I didn't think deeply enough about it. I'm not a newsman.
With any one of them. That's the goal. When you're totally turned off, we've achieved equity. They've won. Meanwhile, in a nod to the burgeoning wellness movement, the orange M&M will, quote, acknowledge and embrace his anxiety. And actually, if you look at him, the orange M&M does appear very anxious. Maybe he doesn't like all the ugly new shoes he sees around him.
Tucker's pissed about the shoes. I think Tucker might be a foot guy. And maybe that's part of this. Maybe Fox News doesn't want foot people around anymore. I don't know.
Woke M&Ms have returned.
This is
the green M&M got her.
But by the way, this is a bread and butter, right? This is what Tucker was all about. Tucker never cared. Like Tucker heard everybody making fun of him for thinking M&Ms were sexy. But what he heard was everybody talking about him. So the minute they changed M&Ms again, he's like, we're doing another M&M segment. I don't care if the whole world thinks that I'm fondling myself to candies. Let them think that. They're going to watch. They're going to share the clip. Sam's going to talk about it in the Notsam studio. We're doing another M&M segment.
Boots back, but apparently is now a lesbian, maybe. And there's also a plus-sized, obese purple M&M. So we're going to cover that, of course.
I don't see women can be friends without being lesbians, so I don't necessarily understand that. And I have to say, and I know this is probably a moot point, as Tucker is no longer at Fox News, but this is not an obese M&M. That is a peanut M&M. That is a standard peanut M&M. I love the idea that this absurdity is on television. It bothers some people, I think. But look, he was still getting big guests. Elon was just on his show last week. Before that, Tucker was interviewing Trump with no socks on, which I don't understand that at all. To show up to work without socks on is crazy to me. But this guy is so comfortable at his gig, which maybe that's the problem. He's showing up to work without socks on. Now, I don't know, is Fox going to lose access to guests? Do they have somebody that's going to replace Tucker Carlson? I don't know, because just as we're trying to put the pieces together about what Fox is going to do without Tucker Carlson and what that's going to look like, CNN, 45 minutes after it's announced that Tucker's gone, a tweet comes up from Don Lemons. Don Lemons shows up. He's been hosting the morning show, having a hell of a time, and he posts this on Twitter. Now, you can probably barely see it through the TV screen, and that's because the font is crazy. We live in a world where notes are tweeted all the time. A note tweet is how you know something is serious. But the idea, I don't even know how to do this on an iPhone. It's in like a purple blue font, and it's approaching Comic Sans. It's not quite Comic Sans, but it's approaching there. And he writes, I was informed this morning by my agent that I've been terminated by CNN. I'm stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have the decency to tell me directly. So Don is like, I'm not messing around. Tucker didn't put out a statement. That's why I think Tucker's got something up his sleeve. I think when Tucker puts out a statement, that statement is going to include a direction where you're going to be able to go to either get Tucker next or to follow his political career or whatever he's going to do. Don Lemons, on the other hand, he doesn't have any plan whatsoever. He's panicking. So he's just like, let me talk about how I was wronged. Hopefully I'll get some sympathy and screw CNN. I would have thought somebody in management tell me directly. At no time, he says, was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I've loved at the network. I think he loved the work at the network at one point, but I don't think he loved doing the morning show. It's clear that there are some larger issues at play. I agree with that. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I've worked with for an incredible run. They're the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best. Don Lemon, gone from CNN. Of course, Don Lemon was the king of CNN for a period of time. When Chris Cuomo hit the 9 o'clock hour, Don Lemon hit the 10 o'clock hour. They had that crossover where they could be buddy-buddy. It was an amazing time for CNN. They were the frickin' frack of that network. However, Chris Cuomo gets the boot. CNN gets a new boss. The new boss doesn't like what Don Lemon's doing. So he moves Don Lemon up to the morning show, puts him with two co-hosts, and ever since then, Don Lemon has been in a bad mood. Now, I'm reading this, right? And I can't believe it because I just found out about Tucker Carlson. And Don Lemon posts this purple note on Twitter. Crazy. And then this thing pops up under Don Lemon's tweet. We've all seen this, right? This became a big part of the pandemic era, the correction, the Twitter correction, which I didn't even know we were still doing, but apparently we are still doing it. It says, per CNN, readers added context they thought people might want to know, which they're still coming after you, Don. They're still coming after you. Per CNN PR, this statement is, quote, inaccurate. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter. So Twitter is saying that his statement saying he got fired was inaccurate. Then I go to CNN's PR Twitter page, and the first tweet is, and this is like what a difference 10 minutes can make. CNN and Don have parted ways. Don will forever be a part of the CNN family, and we thank him for his contributions over the past 17 years. We wish him well, and we'll be cheering him on in his future endeavors. That's beautiful. 10 minutes later, more or less. Don Lemon's statement about this morning's events is inaccurate. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter, which is just like, remember that last thing we tweeted about how we wanted his future to be great? Forget it. We're over it. Don, he was the man on CNN, and he would have such a fun time, right? Every night, he would show up on CNN. He would tell you what was wrong with the world. During the Trump era, you had Tucker on one channel going like, is this not the greatest thing in the world? And then on CNN, Don Lemon would be like, this is just the worst thing in the world. And whichever way, if you wanted to be happy and own the libs, or if you wanted to be scared that the world was ending, there was a guy for you. And Don Lemon was, these two guys are gone. And then came New Year's, right? New Year's Eve would hit. And we'd see Don, and he'd get to drink, and he'd go to New Orleans, and he'd get his belly button pierced. This is maybe one of my favorite television clips of all time. This is me at every party. Every party. It's never stopped making me giggle. This is a year and a half old. Getting litty. This guy doesn't have a care in the world. They're never going to fire me, he says. Well, this was the old Don Lemon. This was Don Lemon who got to hang out with his friend Chris Cuomo. This was Don Lemon who was the man. Here's when I knew it was bad. A year removed from Don Lemon, and we'll play this again. This was happening 1 year before, right? This is the Don Lemon we get. Just off rhythm, totally off key, getting litty. 1 year later, not only is Don Lemon relegated to host New Year's Eve at 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So technically you go, wow, he's in New Orleans, so the ball hasn't dropped yet. But still, on New Year's, we go by East Coast time. So Don Lemon his face isn't shown on CNN until after Anderson and Andy say goodnight. He doesn't get to show up until 12:30 Eastern, and he doesn't get to drink at all. And it's like, if you're taking Don Lemon off nights and you're not letting him drink on New Year's, you're not letting my man be my man. You're not letting Don Lemons be Don Lemons, okay? So it's no surprise that the guy's in such a bad, grumpy mood all the time. He goes on to this show, right? This is his morning show. This is Caitlin Collins, and all these reports start coming out that he hates this Caitlin Collins. He's having a terrible time. There's all these clips showing up on Twitter of them interrupting each other, of him interrupting her, all these snide remarks he's making. There's rumors of guests not wanting to do interviews with Don Lemon, only wanting to do interviews with this one. And then this happens.
I mean, and notice Nikki Haley when she said that yesterday. Obviously, a dig at Biden, but she said 75 and up, so that would include Trump.
Elder statesman here.
Say it, Don.
Talk about age makes
Say it, Don. Say it, Don.
I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime.
Speak your
Nikki
truth.
Haley isn't in her prime.
What?
Sorry.
What?
A woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and
Oh, Jesus.
maybe 40s.
What are you
That's not
talking? Wait.
That's not
Oh,
according
no.
to me.
Prime for what?
No.
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look.
I mean, we covered this when he first did it, but it's been a snowball since here.
Look it up. It'll if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say.
This is the guy who said Joe Rogan was pseudoscience, and now he's telling people to Google it. Women are not in their prime. Don, how did we get here? How do we get here? Don't let them do this to you, Don. Don't let them get you all worked up like this, Don. No.
20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that politicians aren't in their prime.
We
and
need
they
to call.
No, I'm just saying she needs to be careful.
Are you talking about prime for like child bearing, or are you
don't
talking
shoot
about
the messenger.
prime
I'm
for
just
being
saying
president?
Shoot the
what facts
messenger.
are.
Oh, they
Google
did.
it.
They got you, Don. They shot the messenger.
Everybody at home, when is a woman in her prime? It says 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I'm just saying Nikki
Don.
Haley should be careful about saying
No,
that politicians
Don.
are not in their prime, and they need to be in their prime when they serve, because she wouldn't be in her prime according to
Google?
Google or whatever it is.
Oh, that's an insult, according to Google. What are you, you're a newsman? Google? Oh, Don.
Is. Look, and you have to be careful because older people vote. Older people watch linear television, right?
Okay, look, you see this look? I've seen this look on CNN before. They were giving it to him. She's like, I'm letting you dig. I'm letting you dig. She goes, here, Don, get yourself out of this hole. Here's this shovel. Climb out of the hole. Here's a shovel.
And so she has to be careful about turning off a certain constituency who may be her strongest set of supporters.
Right.
By
And more
saying,
old people vote than younger people.
yes,
But I will
that's
say,
the point.
age is a fair question. Remember,
and that's the point. Not anything about, whether women are smart or not. What, Don? No. I didn't say smart. I mean, and so now we look. Don Lemon was on the air this morning. And a couple hours after his show, they're like, hey, that show you just did, that was it. Now, I don't know where Don Lemon goes. I don't know if he's going to call up Chris Cuomo and try to get on whatever weird network Chris Cuomo's on. But, I mean, to be one of these, like, cable news guys and to have options outside of kind of standard cable, you kind of got to be, like, outrageous, right? You got to be on the fringe of things, which is where Tucker Carlson lives. He pisses people off. He just says outlandish things and he gets people upset. And it's like, yeah, that's how you get ahead these days. So I don't think Tucker Carlson's in trouble financially, career-wise, whatever, future-wise. I hope Don Lemon has saved his cash. And Don Lemon saying he was surprised, like, I don't think there's any way Tucker Carlson was surprised by this. But the fact that Don Lemon is saying he was surprised, he's the only one. Everybody's been sitting, I don't know why today was the day. I don't know how they made that call. Maybe somebody tipped him off. Well, Fox is going to get Tucker. So why don't we just get Don Lemon today? And they're like, it's unrelated. Big deal. We'll just scoop them all up in one day. That way, everything gets muddled. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the way it went down. But either way, this is the world that we're in. I don't know if we've accomplished anything. Tried to unpack something or other. But, yeah, I don't know that the era of the cable news star is probably over. Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson are probably that last generation of people who truly become stars on cable news. Because beyond that, it's going to be people who are just doing everything they don't want to do on TV anymore on the internet. Right? I mean, aside from those guys, whether you're on the right or the left or whatever, aside from guys like that, who are you watching? Who's going to be the stars? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I appreciate you guys. Let me know in the comments if I got everything wrong, as I usually do. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tune in on Friday. We'll be back live for Sam Roberts Now here on the Notsam YouTube channel. Have a good one, everybody.